It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Welcome to another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, a podcast made by film fans for film fans. As always, I am one of your co-hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
And we're going to talk about movies. We had Masters of the Universe this past week. We also caught up on some other things. Scary Movie, the sixth one, but they're not going to call it that because why would they? It's a riff on modern horror film reimaginings and reboots, so let's just keep it with the same title as the first. Let's do that. We'll talk about some new releases, what we have coming up this upcoming week, which is a pretty good Spielberg-heavy week, which... been a while since, Fablemans was the last Spielberg movie we had in theaters, so we'll touch on that, a little bit of physical media roundup, and movie news as well. But, yeah, it's been a heavy day of drinking for me already, so I'm going to be nursing a Pacifico for the rest of the day. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, a little bit of drinking. I got a Modelo.
A little bit of drinking.
I had some, actually, before you showed up, I had some root beer, that root beer moonshine.
Oh, that was good.
I finally finished that off, our buddy gave us, so... have that, have a Modelo, have a gin and tonic waiting, so there's no rhyme or reason to this.
Yeah.
It's fine. But before we get started, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. If you're struggling with... if you are struggling with stuff, then you go to the website or call them, or I don't know what it is.
You don't call them.
You don't call them, you don't get to talk to them in therapy, you just get to message them online, a message board.
It's just like an AI chatbot. I feel down sometimes. Kill yourself.
It's like the Family Guy thing when Peter's the 911 operator or whatever, and guy's like, I think I'm gonna kill what the fuck does he say?
I don't know. I don't even know the bit. I like the idea of the bit.
He's like, oh yeah, my wife is cheated on me, and he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. And Peter's like, wouldn't it make more sense to kill her?
How the tables have turned.
Anyways, no, we're not sponsored by BetterHelp.
That's
Can't
fine.
fucking speak, whatever. I've heard they're bad people.
Yeah, every time I ever see one of my favorite YouTubers, Stuckman, anyone, Cody Ko, talking about, oh, hey, use BetterHelp, every top comment is, I can't believe you're talking about BetterHelp. I can't believe you're
I would sincerely love if you remove them as your sponsor.
Okay, jeez, all right.
I don't know what they've done wrong, but whatever. It's fine. Anyways, that's all I got.
There's movies that we have this week. Actually, so going into, which we kind of teased at the top, of Masters of the Universe, me and Corey decided, which usually Corey takes this on upon himself, which I really deeply admire about him, because I will happily skip some of these old movies from the past that have typically sucked, or watching back some older, much dated 80s fare, like the Punisher Dolph Lundgren movie you checked out. I still have not seen that. But this week we do, again, keeping in line with the 80s and with Dolph Lundgren, we do have the 1987 Masters of the Universe, directed by Gary Goddard. I believe this is, a Canon film? Is that the...
Oh, yeah.
It has to be one of their last.
Same year as Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Okay, so this is probably their last. That's the end of it.
They went out of business a couple years later, I think after Cyborg, that Van Damme movie, but this was the beginning of the end where they're like, oh, two big flops.
Not good for us. And like we mentioned, Dolph Lundgren is in this, but the star of this movie is maybe Frank Langella as Skeletor. You got Meg Foster, you got Courtney Cox. It's the heroic warrior of He-Man battles evil, battles Skeletor and his armies of darkness for control of Castle Grayskull. Even though the majority of this movie takes place in the United States and not in Eternia or in Planet Grayskull or Castle Grayskull, whatever the fuck. I'm not really caught up on the He-Man lore. I didn't watch the cartoon. I know some of the kitschy memes of He-Man, but this was my first foray into watching anything He-Man related, and yep, it's a 80s action movie with Lundgren, who very well, and you brought this to my attention and to my knowledge because I didn't know this beforehand, he didn't really know English that well going into this movie. This was still him on the precipice of coming into Hollywood and figuring that out. Yes, he's just a big muscle, and he has this horrible blonde mullet, but he is going to just try and say the very few lines of dialogue that he has as convincingly as possible, which is not convincing at all. But I didn't mind this, really. I actually really had a decent enough time watching this, Corey. I know you watched it this week, too. How do you feel about the 80s Dolph Lundgren Masters?
I had so much fun with this. Yeah. This is great. And it's kind of interesting. Much like you, I haven't watched the animated show, or if I did, it was on in the background or something. So didn't really watch that growing up as a kid. I had a few of the toys and just sprinkled in with G.I. Joes and other shit, all fighting against each other. It was a really epic battle in my bedroom back in the day. It was really sweet. But interesting that this movie is not actually based on the animated series, but based just on the toys. So they didn't take any like storylines or anything, I guess, from the animated show.
That shows, actually. Which, like, I don't know much about the show, but there's not really that big of a story here. It's just He-Man versus Skeletor.
And I like that it just jumps right into it, and we don't do an origin story. We don't do like a, hey, let's explain everything that's going on. It's just like, here's the characters. You're going to figure it out. Back when even movies that are, I'll admit this isn't a great movie, but I had fun watching it, when they just trusted you to be like, you'll pick it up along the way. You'll get it. We don't need to explain it. I do want to mention the score is by Bill Conti, who is great. He did Rocky, the main theme from Rocky, which is fantastic. But the opening credits of this movie, blatant ripoff of Superman.
100%. I was like, I need to make a note of this because I'm going to forget about it, but holy shit, this is them trying to do the John Williams Superman opening.
It's basically the same theme, the same, like, in space, like, shooting in with the names.
Same color palette.
Everything's the same, and, like, we mentioned, it came out the same year as Quest for Peace, so it makes sense. They were like, this is our thing.
Just carry it over.
It's great. So, no, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It kind of starts off in Eternia, and Skeletor comes in and he's trying to take over Castle Grayskull, and then He-Man and Teela and Man-at-Arms, they meet Gwildor. I fucking love Gwildor. He's just a little bastard that was just kind of a Yoda-esque type figure in a way.
More yogurt than Yoda, honestly. More yogurt from Spaceballs.
Yeah, they did. It's very Star Wars,
adjacent.
Star Wars adjacent. But they do that, and then they go to Earth for a while, like you mentioned, and that's where we meet Courtney Cox, who you may know from the Dancing in the Dark Bruce Springsteen music video.
Ah, yes, that's where I was going, exactly.
Yeah. And they're on Earth for a bit, and then they go back to Eternia for a final battle. Some things I really liked about this movie, I thought all of the sets and the makeup and the costumes were awesome. I loved it, especially the Castle Grayskull throne room set. Mm-hmm. Which at the time was one of the biggest sets made for a Hollywood movie. They basically just took down a wall between two sound stages and just combined them together to make it, which looks awesome. And you mentioned Frank Langella. He is incredible in this movie. And I really like the way that they put like the skull kind of mask mixed with makeup on his face, like, and allowing his performance to still come through. It wasn't obviously CGI really, so he just, I don't know, he was having so much fun. And there's a line that he has in this movie towards the end that I was like, damn.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like right before the final battle, and he's talking to He-Man, and he's like, tell me about the loneliness of good, He-Man. Is it equal to the loneliness of evil?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Kind of a bar,
right? Actually, it's fucking awesome. That's a great line. So there's stuff like that where I'm like, they cared a little bit about this movie. I enjoyed the scenes on Earth. Like, I get it, because at the time, you're like, all right, we can't set all of this in Eternia. We can't, like, go to Snake Mountain and all these other places. So, I understand it, and a lot of it's shot in the dark, and just at a music store, and at a fucking high school gym for prom or whatever it was. But I had a lot of fun with this movie, realizing that it's, not the best made, that it's not, like, it doesn't look that bad.
No.
It really doesn't.
Honestly, some of the... With it now being very dated, some of the effects of, like, especially it's late at night that they're filming, and it's set in, like, downtown, and you can feel the restraints of the budget and the restrictions that they worked with, just because there's no one out on this street aside from, like, He-Man and the henchmen of Skeletor. And you can feel, like, just, all right, there's not a whole lot of padding out of, like, putting extras in certain scenes, and it feels very small scale in terms of what they had to work with. Which is fine. I kind of, like, sometimes that shows through, and it's just, like, it's kind of charming. There are some effects of He-Man flying away on a ship where it's just, like, you can tell they took an image and then they just tilted it and made it smaller in the frame as it flew off, and I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes shit like that just kind of works because it's charming. It's them doing their best with what they got, and they don't have a big budget. I will say, I wish some of the costuming was a little bit more... Granted, I'm not the most well-versed in He-Man, but I wish it was a little bit more vibrant, because Man-at-Arms and Teela, they're just both kind of in gray-ish military garb, and I actually did really dig the tunic that Dolph Lundgren's wearing. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking He-Man. This dude's massive. Can't act for shit right now, but honestly, it's fine. Frank Langella is just chewing scenery in every scene he's in. There's so little attempt at explaining really any character dynamics that it's like, you don't need to really pay much attention. It's fine. You're just going on this wacky ride where they have this, like, this key to get them back to Eternia, and for some reason Skeletor's after them, and they want to get that key too, and all this shit. I don't even really 100% know if I followed exactly what was going on in the story, but I was just like, oh, I like the movie Cobra with Stallone. That's not really a great action movie or either. It's a fun time with an action hero that I really like. I can kind of get behind this. It feels very much like they were also trying to lean into the success, which I don't know if it necessarily is successful, but to me it is now, of Flash Gordon. I love the 1980 Flash Gordon movie. I think that is a special, schlocky, cheesy movie. It's so well loved by me, and apparently by some people in pop culture, that it's very heavily referenced in the Ted movies and in the Ted show. Clearly Seth MacFarlane grew up on that movie. I love Flash Gordon, and this feels like they wanted to commit to something like that, something that's schlocky, cheesy, almost bombastic. I feel like that this movie is missing some of, like, the big, like, I need, like, a big Queen score or, like, some big musical moments like that to really sell this. But overall, I'm like, you know what? I really dig, like, the quasi all-black stormtroopers that Skeletor basically has. Like, I don't know. I had a fun enough time. The sets are tangible. You can just feel like, oh, this is not like a small group of buddies out making a movie, but you can tell it's just like, all right, we got to put this movie out. We got to make it as bare bones as we possibly can. We don't have a lot of budget. We have to make it at night. We have to shoot it at a lot of just random locations and random sets. We can afford Courtney Cox right now because she's not big yet. And I believe the woman that plays the sorceress also then plays Courtney Cox's mom in Friends, I believe, too, which I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So, I don't know. I had a good enough time with it. And is it James Tolkien?
Fantastic.
Who plays Lubick, the cop in this, who's obviously in Back to the Future and in Top Gun. He is just such a recognizable 80s figure to me that when he popped up, I was like, you're fucking in this movie too? I was like, no way. So, I had a good enough time. I do think, what's his name? Gwildor. I think that dude has a thing for feet or toe. Like, he is just a greasy little fuck. And his eyes are always in every scene just darting back and forth. I'm like, you're nasty. You're so greasy. But, like, also with that, the makeup for him, the prosthetic, the costuming, it worked. So I was like, oh, yeah, honestly, there's some merit here.
Mm-hmm. In an age when that would be a completely CGI character, I like going back to, like, puppetry or, like, kind of a mixed thing of whatever they're doing. So, no, I also enjoy it. James Tolkien is one of the best character actors. And, like, yeah, he was just going off in the 80s doing everything.
I mean, if you want to count this as part of that, like, I don't know if this was super well regarded, but, like, looking back on it, I had a fun enough time.
Yeah, and he gets to shoot a shotgun. I think in Back to the Future 2, he's got a shotgun. Yeah. This one's got a shotgun just shooting aliens. Then he decides to stay with them.
Yeah, that I will say, that's such a quick turn, because they all end up back in Eternia. They all transport into Castle Grayskull, basically into that throne room that Skeletor has. And Lubick, who's just this entire time been like, this is all crazy shit you're talking, like, you're under arrest, like, this entire time he's just like a straight and narrow, I'm the cop, and you're fucking with me. And then he ends up in this mythical place, and he's just immediately like, yeah, I'm gonna stay. I got this beautiful lady. I got this throne. Yeah, I have nothing to go back for. Why wouldn't I stay? And I'm like, okay, I guess. Like, sure.
Fair enough. Okay. You could be a cop doing investigations or on Eternia. Like, yeah, fuck it. But no, this movie's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we both watched it this week.
I really expected to not like this movie as much, and I expected to like this movie less than the current remake of Masters of the Universe, which is coming from Travis Knight, now out in theaters. Travis Knight, who is someone I put a lot of faith in with Kubo and the Two Strings, Bumblebee, kind of revamping the Transformers franchise because that was really done to death. Thank you, Michael Bay. But we have this new Masters of the Universe film. It is 2.5 hours long. It is out in theaters right now with Nicholas, is it Galitzine?
Galitzine.
Camila Mendes, Idris Elba, Jared Leto, Alison Brie. It's got a really good cast. Also, Kristen Wiig is mentioned on here. Who is Kristen Wiig?
She voiced the robot in the big robot.
No shit. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. What was like a battle bot potentially?
If you would have stayed for the credits, you would have seen it.
Spoiler alert! I left this movie. It's 2.5 hours long. I probably stayed for 2 hours and I'd say 5 or 10 minutes of it. I thought that this movie was borderline unwatchable at times. And I don't think I hate this movie, but there's just a lot of like, what are we doing here, guys? We had so much potential, I feel like, and I had hopes that, not that this was going to be my favorite movie of 2026, just that it would be a fun summer blockbuster. And you know what? Hey, I don't know much about He-Man. Show me He-Man. If it's Nicholas Galatzine's portrayal of Adam or He-Man, I don't fucking want it. Because holy shit, is this the most obnoxiously annoying, pathetic lead character we've gotten. If people want to bitch about Luke being kind of a Sally and just like whining and moping all throughout New Hope, watch this. This dude's gonna make me claw my goddamn eyes out at times. He's so just wishy-washy and he's wimpy and he's like, whoa, I work in HR. Like, come on, guys, let's all get it. And I'm like, I get that this is kind of part of a joke that you think is maybe funny. Spoiler alert, none of the jokes in this film, whether they're tailor-made for a 5-year-old or there's a fisting joke randomly, actually, if there's 10 fisting jokes randomly or giving head, none of the jokes land. There's maybe one with Idris Elba that we mentioned or we talked about before recording. That does work, but overall, it's just like, I don't know if they are aware of the identity of what they wanted this movie to be. Do they want to adhere to the mythology? Do they want to spoof it? Do they want to rip on it? Do they want to be... I don't know what they wanted to do. But I was so heavily disappointed by Travis Knight and co. for what they tried to feel, what it felt like force feed me watching this movie. It feels like they were going for Thor Ragnarok and they landed on Thor Love and Thunder, which I do not like that movie. And I just don't think that they knew what to fucking do. Whether they can poke fun at it and still do it seriously, or they're like, this is stupid. Okay. And? Like, well, then why am I watching this? Why is Skeletor lifting weights at a gym? Why, like... Honestly, if Jared Leto, which I actually enjoyed decently enough as Skeletor, for me, he is far and away the best part of this movie. I don't hate on Jared Leto overly. I think I like Jared Leto in most things. Dallas Buyers Club, Blade Runner 2049, Tron Ares, obviously not Morbius, but if Jared Leto is the best part of your movie, that's a red flag. That's a bad sign if the best part is Jared Leto. So... Corey, what were your thoughts, brief thoughts on Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I just saw it this morning, and this was after you had texted me and said, I left for the last 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, and you knew exactly what scene. I left that, too. I told him that, and I came over today, and he was just like, you left during, like, the gym? And I was like, yes, I left then. I didn't need to stay any longer.
Yeah, once you see Jared Leto as Skeletor, he, like, makes, he, like, goes into He-Man's mind or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just in the gym lifting weights, wearing Nike stuff, which, like, Travis Knight's the son of Phil Knight, who co-founded Nike. So, like, sure, whatever. But I'm going to just throw a couple good things, and then I'm going to rant on this movie a little bit.
Cool.
I thought the score was great. Daniel Pemberton's score, I thought was fantastic. I thought it really... And again, like, we're not too familiar with the animated show or anything, so I don't know if it pulls from, like, any of the themes from there or not, but I just thought the music fit really well with a fantasy, sci-fi type movie. And also... during the credits, too, it showed that Brian May from Queen did a lot of the electric guitar music, which is really cool, and that plays into why the score is so good. So I thought that the music, for me, honestly, was probably the best part. I thought that some of the, like you mentioned, it's fun to be on Eternia more compared to the 87 version. I like the 87 version a lot more than this movie.
100%.
But it's fun to, like, explore, like, Snake Mountain and go to all these different places and a lot more creatures, and you can realize some of the VFX a lot more. So some of the action and the creatures and that stuff, it's fun.
Yeah.
To Skeletor, I want to start there because I think Jared Leto's fine in the movie. Like, I think the voice he is doing works.
I think it works, too.
I know a lot of people will compare it to, like, Bane from Dark Knight Rises and, like, kind of the muffled whatever voice. I'm like, it's fine. I didn't mind it at all. I thought the look of him was pretty good. I thought that I like that we have both Frank Langella's in the 80s of, like, a practical thing, but then even, like, a good CGI version of Skeletor now. I think it looks pretty sweet. But my main issue with Skeletor is that it feels like they're trying to do, like, 3 separate things with him, where sometimes they want to make him the intimidating villain like Frank Langella, and I'm assuming what was in the animated show. Sometimes they want to make him, like, the mustache twirling, kind of doing some quips. Yeah, doing that. And then other times, he's just a complete fucking idiot, and his henchmen don't respect him at all.
Yeah.
There's, like, 3 or 4 scenes where he's giving his big speech and making a big proclamation, and then nobody responds, and he's like, you guys can go now. You can do your thing. And they're like, oh, are you...
You're done?
And it's just like, no, well, if they don't respect you, why would I think you're a good fucking villain then? And I don't know, that didn't work for me. He's got a lot of weird fucking jokes in this movie that didn't work for me at all. A lot of weird sexual innuendos.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, your big sword swinging between your legs.
Your thighs! And I was like, what the fuck are we doing right now?
What is this? And, like, even in the end, I guess into spoilers, whatever.
Yeah.
like in the end when He-Man for the second time does the, like, I have the power, Skeletor's like, oh, balls. Like right after that happens, I'm like, what? Why are we doing this? And that leads into my other big issue with the movie, which is the humor is just, it completely undermines any serious moments in this movie. Yeah. You make the good comparison, and I thought it too, of Ragnarok to Love and Thunder, where I think Ragnarok, the comedy, works consistently in that movie, but also lets the dramatic moments sit. You know, when Odin dies, and like when, you know, just a lot of other great stuff in that movie. This one, there's serious moments, and they're just like, all right, joke. Yeah. And it's not just like a couple characters. Every character's quipping. Yeah. Every character's joking in this movie. And it compromised all those moments. It was just unfunny. There's like 2 moments that I laughed at in this movie. Everything else was so cliche. The dialogue was just generic ass bullshit that I kind of fucking hated. The last kind of big thing that I had with this is the main character, and you touched on it for a little bit, but Adam, or He-Man, the kind of main theme that they're going for here is like, it's okay to not be super masculine, and it's not about the muscles, and it's more about who's on the inside. Like, it's a fine theme. Like, we've seen that before in movies, and it works. This one, they pound you over the fucking head with it. One, because on Earth, Adam is like a HR person.
Yeah, he works in HR.
And they talk about having people's consent and being okay.
Conflict resolution.
And just having a dialogue with people and doing all this fucking woke bullshit that I fucking hated.
All of the work stuff related to Adam's existence on Earth and his boss, I'm like, I can so clearly see your attempts at almost like a modern day Office Space. Fucking knock it off. Stop. None of the performers in this film I thought were necessarily bad. I think it just comes 100% down to writing and direction, where I'm like, I feel like this would work in something else, but for what this needs to lead into, I don't, like, it feels like they don't know what they're trying to make at times. And, like, there are some line delivery of his boss where I'm like, that works, but, like, it doesn't feel like it jives with the rest of this movie. Like, it doesn't feel like it fits in. And then, you get... I want action in this movie, and we get some good action, but, like, when he gets to that, like, big powwow with his team, they're all locked up in a dungeon, and he's like, hey, like, you guys are basically who I remember from my childhood before I was basically ostracized to Earth. Like, you are what I remember. Like, I refer to you as Fisto, and I refer to you as, Mechaneck, and, like, weird, stupid, shitty fucking names. But every time, and you brought this up to me before we started recording, they have to make a joke on it. Like, why can't they just be called Fisto? Why couldn't it just be I'm Mechaneck? Like, why does it have to be like, oh, I fist people, oh. Like, right. And that joke is made 10 times, and it's never funny. Like, there's no originality to it. And similar to what you were saying about the comedy, it's every character is funny. It's like, can we stop doing the Marvel thing? Like, it's funny when there is a funny character that accents a movie. Like, you can have the story progress, and then there's one character that you can count on for a laugh. If everyone is consistently blowing smoke and just undercutting every single serious decision or serious moment in a movie, it's like, well, no one's serious, so why should I fucking care? I will say, I think, I forget what the big tiger... Grinder?
It's Cringer, but Battle Cat.
Yeah. I think that there's some effects that work. There's some that really don't, and I think some of the effects with Battle Cat didn't really hold up for me. I think Idris Elba's story of Man-at-Arms being somewhat of like a absent father, alcoholic, really pseudo-masculine man who's really out of touch with the times and is failing his daughter. I was just like, what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, it's almost something, but also it's still underdeveloped to where I'm like, there's almost no reason why this should be a plot point, really. Like, he's like, and I completely saw that first initial joke coming when he gets reintroduced to the story, where he's the one body laying in the bottom of that dungeon floor, and he's like laying in his own piss because he's drunk, and it's just like, saw that coming. Like, none of this feels original, none of this feels well thought out. I don't feel like they're like seriously trying to like wink wink nod nod and make a good story with this mythology. It just feels like, this is stupid. Okay, it's like, what are we doing here? So it was a insufferable watch at times. I think my biggest positives is sometimes the action is helmed really well. Like, sometimes the battle sequences are pretty well done in camera, and there's good like movement and like fluidity to the camera movements. I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. I thought that the transition into He-Man the first time, and he's just stark ass, butt ass naked, but there's like some shadowing on his loin, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, whoa, what the fuck am I watching? So, like, granted, I'm not the biggest He-Man person. I don't know a lot about this mythos. So, watching this, I could really be like harping on something that people are like, oh no, I'm a fan of He-Man, and that's just how it is. I'm like, cool, sure, but like, as a person that's just going to this movie, because I don't think that the people behind this movie are really like, oh, all the He-Man fans are going to come out and we're going to make $8 billion. No, I think that they're like, yeah, we'll get most of the He-Man people to come see this, and that will make us an opening weekend. And then what? We need legs. And if you're not going to win someone who's new to your kind of mythos, your mythology, anything, why the fuck am I here? Like, it felt like inside baseball, but they couldn't commit to the game they were playing. I was like, what are you doing?
One of my least favorite things that people say in movie criticism is, oh, it's made for the fans. It's made for the fans. And so if you're not a fan of the animated thing, this isn't for you. Like, you're not going to like it.
I don't know any He-Man fans, so I don't know how to fact check that. Like, who am I going to call up and be like, did you like this? Like,
just like, even with any franchise, if you're just like, yeah, I'm coming into it kind of new, I haven't watched the show that it's based on, or the books that it's based on, you're like, oh, you're not a true fan. I hate that. But
it's a failsafe, yeah.
This movie feels like, at sometimes, it's trying to lean into the silliness and goofiness, which is when it succeeds, which I think, like, the opening sequence of the movie is pretty fun, of, like, on Eternia, and, like, Skeletor comes in and is taken over, like, Man-at-Arms, he has some cool action there. I'm like, oh, you're a badass. And then they just make him the fucking drunk for the other 2/3 of the movie. But sometimes they lean into it, but then other times they're trying to distance themselves from it and, like, do their own thing. You mentioned, like, the names, where they're like, well, no, like, we can't just have them be the names of the characters. We have to explain why, or, like, make jokes about it. I'm like, why? Just don't lean into it. Just have fucking fun with it.
And they almost, like, I wanted this to be, like, 80s schlock. And knowing that, Brian May was going to be on the music with this and helping and contributing to some of the guitar play, I'm like, oh, okay, like, they get it. And I feel like in more of those recent trailers that we got more of the taste of the music, I was like, oh, this soundtrack does sound good. I feel like they know what they're doing. And there's that one shot where they break out of the dungeon and they're walking in slow-mo. And the music's swelling, and I was like, I think this is what I want. Like, I want the cheesy 80s shit. I want you to do that, and I think that would service this better. And then they immediately undercut it with the Marvel, like, coughing in the smoke, like, in slow-mo.
So dumb.
And I was like, fucking don't. You almost had me. You almost had it. Like, I had faith in what you were doing. You were going to give me something that I thought would be way better than just like, oh, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm going to wear a loincloth, and Skeletor's going to comment on my sword between my knees. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, it was so perplexing, because... Granted, I had not high expectations. I think I had the best mindset going into where I'm like, I just want a fun summer movie, and it just pissed me off at every turn. So I'm realizing that I actually really did hate this movie. I did walk out. It is way too long. It's 2.5 hours for this. Fucking for all that? After all that, like 2.5 hours. Little cat fucking reference. Come on, Nix, let's go.
Yeah, up to nice.
But. Just 2.5 hours of this, and then you're gonna meet me with Skeletor in a fucking gym. Yeah, I don't need to be here anymore. I'm sorry. So yeah, I left, and I stand by it. I don't think I missed out on what came after it.
I think, I mean, I think a reason why I prefer the '87 version, and not to be like, I don't want as much like character depth and all this stuff. Like, that's not what I'm gonna say here, but like,
it is fucking He-Man.
The '87 version's like, hey, it's He-Man. He's a big hulking figure. He has a sword.
Run with it.
He fucking kills people. He does this. In this one, Adam's like, I want to have a dialogue with Skeletor. Can't we just talk with him? Like, wait, do I have your consent to do this? Can we do... I'm just like, we need to fucking stop. We need to fucking stop with this. I hate this. It went from me being like, is this a good character arc? In the first part, where I'm like, okay, let me see what they do with it, to being like, no, He-Man's a puss. Actually, no. He didn't even fucking say He-Man until the last scene of the movie, like Four Stick, when they're like, Fantastic Four. No, they just fucking say, what's your name? What's your name? I don't know. As a kid, like, I called myself He-Man. Credits start rolling pretty much immediately after. I'm just like, so whatever, fucking Adam. I was just like, you can't even call him He-Man. Another part of, like, trying to distance yourself, just call him fucking He-Man. Just make him He-Man. Don't try and do this like, it's Adam in his pink shirt. I don't want to see him in a pink shirt. I want to see him in the fucking He-Man stuff.
Oh my god, that too.
When he switched and then goes back, and I'm like, no!
No, but when you can tell in his portrayal and his costuming that they're trying to make him not look as buff as he actually is.
Dude's jacked. Like,
he's shredded. Yeah. And he's big. He's filling out any shirt he's wearing. And then they try to have like a big transition scene when he says "by the power" and he transitions.
Cool thing, yeah.
Cool, but they like it feels like they're trying to make him look bigger now, as if we didn't already know that this actor is massive. Like, we know he's big. He's just sauntering. He has no self-confidence, which is fine if you want to make that an aspect to his character. But that is the only aspect of his character, is that he is a bumbling idiot with no self-confidence. Mm-hmm. And then the power of whatever. I still don't fucking
Power of
Grayskull! It's a hard thing to say, seriously. But it just, you do that, and then he turns into He-Man, and now he's mad. Like, they try to, like, make the muscles look like they get bigger. It's like, no, I know that this guy has been shredded this entire movie. Which they don't really, like... Oh, we didn't even bring up... We are in spoilers. Dolph Lundgren's in this movie.
Oh, yeah, he makes a cameo.
He makes a cameo. I am torn on if I hate it or not. He pops up, and when I was watching it, I'm like, I think I hate this. But I don't mind the dialogue he has with him of, like, just take it and do what you want with it, or move it forward, or whatever his little exchange. But I was like, oh, it's a nice little handing of the torch, I guess. I didn't need that. I don't think anyone's really, like, clamoring for Dolph Lundgren in this. It
kind of falls into, like, the every Legacy sequel where it's like, any tips for the new guy?
Yeah.
I'm like...
And it felt... I'm like...
I love Dolph, but, like,
would you be asking someone that in the gym?
Random dude lifting weights, like, hey, you're in my space. It's like, any tips for the new guy here? I'm like, can you just shut the fuck... I love seeing Dolph Lundgren, but... Yeah. No, I really kind of actually hated the character of Adam. And again, not to be like, I don't want depth with a character, but like, with He-Man and Masters of the Universe, I kind of just want him with a sword killing people and not being like, I don't know if we should be celebrating a victory where I ripped a guy's arms off. It's like, no, just fucking kill him. Yeah. I don't care. And you... Talking about your emotion, this is gonna be bad. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. You being like, I need to talk about my emotions and maybe being masculine. Okay, shut the fuck up. Be a man. Kill people. You're a fucking pussy, and I hated you. You made me fucking hate you. And be a hero. The hero can be a hero and not joke around. The villain can be a villain and not joke around. Yeah. It's fine.
I feel like if they weren't trying so hard to somewhat establish that 80s aesthetic with the look, the vibrancy, the music, even. To then completely subvert it and just be so present day, so current, so woke at times, and so just in your face of like, well, he works in human resources, so he's how would a guy in human resources operate as a big savior of an entire universe? I'm like, not like this. Like, if that's the character arc you want for this guy, give me a different hero, because I'm not rooting for him. He's bumbling, he's annoying, he's obnoxious, he's not confident in anything that he does, which, like, if he wants to gain confidence over throughout the movie, sure, but kind of fails to even really do that at times. So I'm like, what are we doing? And it just, at that point, and like, Alison Brie as, Evil Lynn? Oh, that's an interesting casting. She does nothing in the movie. There's just a lot of kind of wasted potential in some of the other actors filling out the cast. I think Idris Elba was, like, fine in this. Like, he doesn't do much. I think this is like a Jared Leto show at times when he is Skeletor, and sometimes the humor, it didn't necessarily work for me, but I'm like, I get what you're going for, and my exposure to, like, the meme of He-Man and the meme of Skeletor, I'm like, this coincides with that, but is that what He-Man is, and is that what we should be doing for a Masters of the Universe movie? Maybe not. Like, it felt like they were trying to play to current kind of representation of He-Man, and like, oh, how does the outside in, how does that person view He-Man? Yeah. Like, what is a new person coming to this look at He-Man to be? And I'm like, I feel like you guys are dropping the ball on that, and as well as, granted, I'm not a fan of this mythology, I feel like you're dropping the ball there too. Like, I don't know anyone, I haven't talked to anyone personally that has came out of this movie and liked it, and the Rotten Tomato score is like in the 70s. I went in just like, hey, I want to like it, and I didn't. I left early. That's my one of 2026. So maybe I'll do it. Maybe I don't know. I hope to God there's not another fucking movie I'll walk out of.
Let's hope. They should have just picked a lane with how they wanted to approach this mythology, how they wanted to approach the characters. Like, if they would have just picked a lane with Skeletor and been like, all right, he is going to be a jokey one that his underlings don't respect. I'm like, fine, I'm cool with that. That's not my issue with it. It's that then sometimes he is really intimidating. I'm like, oh, I see what the possibility of him being like a great villain is. So it just, they feel like they were kind of wishy-washy on what they wanted to do here. And it was really annoying because it's like, you had a couple elements and like, all the casting's not bad, I don't think. No. I think it really is just the screenplay here. It's like 7 people that wrote this movie. So it's like, you can tell.
This movie needed to be Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
That newer Chris Pine movie with what I think the team behind Game Night and Spider-Man Homecoming, like that writing duo, I needed that type of vibe to this and that type of energy. Whereas like it felt like they tried to maybe do that, but it was just so bumbling and all over the place. We're spending too much time on this one, but yeah, Masters of the Universe for Corey and I, kind of a want, like not great. Feels like Pac-Man's dying right now. Not a great movie. I wouldn't recommend it. I walked out of it, obviously. So honestly, go back and you might think you're gonna hate it. Maybe just watch the '87 version. You might like it. It's kind of its era, and I wish that the current Masters of the Universe would have taken notes from that and just like, you know what? Let's dive into it. Let's commit more to the costuming, but let's do something what the '80s movie did of committing to the costuming, commit to Eternia, give us more of a sprawling adventure as opposed to just a bumbling idiot that discovers he has powers and fights a sarcastic skeleton.
It could have just been, and like I hate to say it, but like even if it was just kind of a generic story, but they stuck to just like the classic tropes of the hero and the villain, but just updated it with some good visual effects where we can spend more time on Eternia, I would have enjoyed that more as just a summer blockbuster instead of what they did here. It was such a weird choice. I unfortunately did stay for all of it, and there's 3 post-credit scenes. One of them is like right after the director card comes up, and it's like Orko, this little fucking wizard thing that was going to be in the '87 version, but they replaced with Gwildor because Orko was too hard to animate, or like he's floating all the time. Another one, it teases She-Ra, which is the sister of He-Man. And I get in the animated show and stuff. So they kind of tease her in one, and then the last one is kind of a throwback to the post-credit scene in the original Masters of the Universe, where Skeletor comes out of the thing and he's like, "I'll be here for the next one." No, next one.
But I wonder how this movie is tracking financially.
I don't think it's very good.
I think like a $30 million opening domestic. Maybe?
Not for the budget that it was made on.
Oh God, no,
not great. So yeah, the last post-credit scene here is just like Evelyn coming up and grabbing the skull and being, yeah, I can do something with this. Which, like, I thought Alison Brie was fine. I thought she was, like, having fun. And kind of, it felt like people were in different movies here. Where she was like, I'm going to, like, embrace the cartoony goofiness. I'm like, I wish you would have done that a bit more and just embrace that overall.
Yeah. I feel like, to compare, like, Teela and that performance to Evelyn, they're different types of He-Man stories. Like, one feels Teela is a very serious character in this movie. And then Evelyn is just, like, smirking and, like, almost laughing at the movie and is in on the joke as opposed to, like, being an actual character in the movie at times. So I'm like, what did they want to do here? Again, we're just going to talk in circles about how they kind of flubbed this, at least we think. So if you disagree, cool. All film is subjective. If you think The Last Jedi is not that great of a Star Wars movie, which we're finding out from our Star Wars rankings, which we knew.
What? Crazy.
Yeah, we knew that was going to be a polarizing thing and we were going to catch heat for that, which fine, whatever. But I'm actually seriously interested to see pushback on this Masters of the Universe film and if people actually did like it, because even reviewers that I like that had positive notes on the film, they're not like endorsing this movie or really liking this movie much. So I'm like, it does. Who really liked it? And every review is like a 3 out of 5. It's like it's fine. But I don't think I've met anyone or heard of anyone that was like, yeah, this is my shit.
I just don't know that there's a big demand for this movie. Like, it's, like we said, like, we're not, like, we didn't really grow up watching the animated show and didn't grow up watching the movie until this week, obviously, the 87 one, so.
Which is wild. I never would have thought that post this week I was going to be really excited about potentially buying a 4K of the 80s Masters of the Universe. Or I think Johns was talking about that he has a copy of that on VHS.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of fucking nutty. I like that.
That's sweet.
So I'm not going to buy the newest one. I might buy the 80s one.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Even though I didn't love the new one, it was fun to dig into this universe and just do some research, especially on that 87 movie, especially with Canon Film Groups and just all their history of low-budget movies. Yeah. It was fun and just kind of like to have another franchise be like, all right, now I know a little bit about this one, and to like have 2 movies in my pocket and do that. So that's we have that, I suppose. I doubt that this movie will have a sequel. I just don't know that there's a lot of love for it. Maybe there is, and people are gonna be like, yeah, you just don't know how to have fun, which I also hate that argument about movie critics saying you don't know how to have fun. Shut the fuck up.
I went in, I think, with the best mindset for this movie.
Yeah,
and I was pissed.
Yeah, we're both like, I think even in our like summer preview thing, we were just like, oh, like we hope it's fun. Like it's hopefully it's a good time. Like we'll see. moving into the other big release of the week was Scary Movie, which is Scary Movie 6, but they're doing the Scream 2022 and Halloween 2018 thing where they just reboot it, which it makes sense for this franchise.
That is maybe, from what I've heard, it's one of the better jokes of the movie, is maybe just the fact that it is named Scary Movie.
Yeah, just Scary Movie. So I previously had seen like so many parts of the first 2 Scary Movies, and it's been such a long time since I watched them. I'd never seen 3, 4, and 5, aside from like a couple scenes with Charlie Sheen when he's just got a big fucking boner in one of them.
Yeah.
Which I think it's in 4 or 5, or no, 5, or no, 4. I think it's 4. It's hard to remember. They kind of blend together. So I could sit here and I could go through and say, talk about the details of all these movies. I'm just going to say some of my favorite moments because I watched through all the Scary Movie franchise. It's Scary Movies is spoof. It's the spoof horror genre. It's spoofing the movies that came out at that time. The first 2 are directed by Keenen Ivory Wayans. They star Marlon and Sean Wayans. The Wayans were really the kind of masterminds behind this franchise. And that first movie, I think, works really well because it blends together spoofing Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I just watched all those movies for the first time. I Know What You Did Last Summer last year. So it was nice to kind of have those in my mind. And then just, I think those work together really well. They're the Kevin Williamson 90s horror movies. It works to spoof those, and you get the fun Carmen Electra opening. Where
that's maybe one of my favorite openings to any of these scary movies.
Yeah, it's great. Like she's got the fake boobs and he stabs it, like all the stuff.
Pulls out the implant. I'm like, that's chef's kiss.
Like I'd seen that so clearly before, and I just remember that. I personally just love Ray, played by Sean Wayans, who he's very gay, but he's trying to hide that he's gay. But in this movie especially, he's just like, Regina Hall, why don't you put on my football uniform and then I'll pretend that you're Brendan from the football team. It's like, yeah, take it, Brendan. And then she's like, what? It's Brendan. He's like, I mean, Brendan. Like, it's a very one-note character and one-note joke, but it was just funny to me. And even in the new one, too, like in the Sinners segment, which you see in the trailer, they're like, we're going to come in and do some half-gay shit. And he's like, why stop at half-gay? Shit like that where I'm like, you know what, Sean Wayans, you're funny. I like this kind of bit that you're doing.
I love the Wayans brothers.
They're so funny. And I don't know, it just kind of like it worked. This movie came out the year we were born, in 2000s, that original Scary Movie. And I just had a really fun time rewatching this one. And you just see like little bits where the teacher's like breastfeeding a student's kid and then like hands it back in the classroom. There's a part where they're talking about like a new party that's gonna happen, and Marlon Wayans is like, oh yeah, drunk white girls for everybody, let's go. Doofy is a character. Obviously he's a play on Dewey from Scream, the cop, but he's just kind of like the volunteer cop that's like handicapped and just like, I'm Doofy. I don't know.
I think Doofy is maybe one of my brother's favorite film characters of all time.
Which brother?
Yes.
Tyler.
No, Austin. But yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, okay. All right.
Austin loves Doofy. He loves Richard from Tommy Boy. Like, he's just...
Sure. The thing about Doofy is that he sticks his dick in a vacuum. It's so fun. He's just dragging the vacuum around. He's like, come here, vacuum. And he's just like, in the post-credit scene at the end, too, he's just like talking to his vacuum. He's like, last time. It's stupid humor. It's dumb. It's spoof humor. And I there's a spot in my heart for that, for sure.
Oh, the first 2 of this franchise are very nostalgic for me. Like, I also really loved Anna Faris in these films. Like, I always thought she was super funny. I love the Wayans brothers. Weirdly enough, I think I like... The Wayans brother I love the most is Damon. I think Damon Wayans, he had a sitcom, and it's called, like, My Wife and Kids. It was on, like, Nick at Night sometimes. I watched the shit out of that show. But... yeah, I think that there are some really good bits in this first one. That opening is really good. I completely agree with your sentiment on the fact that you're spoofing the right types of films, at least in that first one. Like, that's a good way to dive into, like, looking at, like, oh, who's the killer? Like, that aspect, and spoofing Scream and Ghostface entirely, and the what's that? Like, it's so iconic. It's, like, this is... Because spoof movies are really hit and miss... More so miss as of recently and in this time period. I think Scary Movie 2 is the last of, like, the good spoof movies we had until The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
And, like, Hot Rod, if you count that as a spoof. And, like, kind of, like, Popstar Never Stopping, stuff like that. But of a true spoof movie, like Scary Movie 2, I'm like, that's the end of an era. Before we start getting into like the
superhero movie,
epic movie, and Meet the Spartans, and I was just like, oh god, these are just so stupid.
Yeah. There's, they definitely kind of captured a little bit of the zeitgeist in the early 2000s there. Just a couple last notes from that first movie. I really do love Miss Mann, who is the gym teacher, or the gym professor, whatever it is, and clearly just a man dressed as a woman, and you just see Ballsack just calls Anna Faris in there and just sack on the fucking chair. Hilarious. One of my favorite scenes from the first one is Regina Hall at the movies when she goes there and Shakespeare in Love is playing, and she's just, it's the stereotype of just being loud at the movie theater and just being like, oh shit, don't do that, oh don't
go in there.
And then people are like, can you stop? And she's like, shut the fuck up, you're being loud. And then they play a trailer for Amistad 2 with Keenen Ivory Wayans being a slave on the front of the ship. It's so funny. I might rewatch or watch for the first time Amistad this week, leading into Spielberg stuff.
Oh, that's actually a good call.
I've never seen it before, but just that joke is funny. Obviously, you have the joke where John Abrahams is Bobby. Him and Anna Faris are having sex, and he just comes her onto the ceiling.
Yeah,
and it's stupid.
I remember watching that as a kid and being like, what's happening? Just so confused and perplexed by that.
The great thing is that they just like cut to the next scene and cut back, and they're just like done, and they don't like address it. Yeah. Perfect, love it. I don't need an explanation. There's a fun like Matrix fight scene in the living room at the end of that first movie, and then they kind of have the usual suspects ending with like Doofy walking straight and going away in the car. I like the first one a lot. I also really like the second one too. It opens with the fun Exorcist opening. And you have a young Natasha Lyonne playing the kind of Reagan character, the young girl in there, which is kind of cool. And you have the priest coming in, and Natasha Lyonne is like, as the demon girl, she's like flicking her tongue at the priest. He's like, oh, damn, okay. What does that thing do? What is it?
I forget who plays the priest in that opening.
Oh, it's
I can look it up.
It's a well-known actor. I'm blanking at the moment.
I'll pull it up.
But it's a good opening, just like a spoof in The Exorcist there. Another thing that I really love about this movie is that the characters, like almost all of them, die in the first movie, and they just come back in the second one with no explanation, and they just don't explain. Like, great, like that's funny. That just kind of cracks me up a little bit. But the kind of basis of this one is more of like a haunted house type movie. They go to this mansion where Tim Curry is in it, Chris Elliott is in it, and he's got his little tiny hand that they make a lot of jokes in.
A strong hand.
Yeah, he's just in all the food, just doing shit. David Cross is in a wheelchair with a...
Oh, James Woods.
James Woods.
And Andy Richter is the other one. He's Father Harris. Yeah.
Yep. James Woods is the thing. And then,
fuck this.
One of the funniest things. It's just like that type of humor in these first two that works so well. There's just so many like little funny moments here. Like there's a bird in a cage in this movie that's like just chirping at everybody.
I'm watching the gifts of James fucking
and the fucking Vion is just fucking It's a great opening. And like the haunted house aspect is really just I think another great way to like move this franchise along. A girl gets fucked by a ghost in this movie. Sure, that's fun. Anna Faris gets in a fight with a cat, just a fist fight with a cat. Hilarious. There's a great part that just made me laugh so much where Shorty, played by Marlon Wayans, is watching a commercial as he's smoking weed, and it's just like a Christmas commercial, like a Christmas album, and some of the songs on the album, I just had to write them down. Santa Claus is coming on Moms. I'm dreaming of a white woman, and all I want for Christmas are the charges to be dropped. It's just, I had to pause and be like, I need to write this down and talk about it.
The last one's a good one.
Great. Just want the charges to be dropped. Great part where David Cross is sucking himself off in the movie in his wheelchair. Legs just up in the air, and he's just going to town. And then he's... Another part I wrote down. I promise I won't spend as much time on the other ones because they're not as good. But David Cross is in a wheelchair, and him and one of the girls are like going around trying to find a ghost. And he gets out of his wheelchair. He's like, I gotta get upstairs. And he's just crawling up the stairs. And she's like, do you want help? He's like, no! I'm serpentining! He's just trying to go, and then he slides down the stairs. It's just stupid. It's dumb, and I love it. Again, we get another kind of Anna Faris getting cummed on scene with in the freezer when she's just like trying to warm up his body, and he's like, yeah, a little bit higher on the leg, higher on the leg. And she's like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, Cindy, please. And we have that. We have, the last is, like, there's a Charlie's Angels kind of fight scene in this movie. There's some, like, John Woo references with doves flying around everywhere. That's funny.
I love that they don't even just spoof the horror franchise or horror genres at the time. They're just like, this is kind of a topic to talk about, too.
Just all of it.
Yeah.
There's, like, a little Hannibal reference in there with, like, Beetlejuice, not the Michael Keaton character, but just, like, they open a head in, like, Beetlejuice, and they're like, what the fuck's going on? And then, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I enjoy those first two movies a lot. I think they're a lot of fun. And then after that, the Weinsteins, who I know you're a big fan of, Harvey at least. Yeah, you've always defended him and said he didn't do anything wrong.
Not
been a strange choice for Mason, but I stand by him.
Some people are like, he's 100% telling the truth.
They have a different just viewpoint of who you are as a person right now. Yeah, fucking hell. After those first two scary movies did really well, the Weinsteins, who produced those ones, they were like, we actually don't need the Wayans anymore. They wanted a pay raise. We're not going to give it to them, and so we're going to move on without them. And we got Scary Movie 3 and 4, which are directed by David Zucker, who did Top Secret, which I know you just bought that movie recently. Airplane, the first couple Naked Gun movies. I love Basketball. I love David Zucker's comedy. I think he really mastered the spoof genre back in the kind of 80s, 90s, and this movie is kind of like The Ring and Signs mixed together, which I think, like, it works well enough. We get, like, the opening scene with Pamela Anderson in there, and, like, just it kind of leans more into just doing more references to everything, and not really, those first two had through lines of, like, Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer for the first one. Mm-hmm. Second one's, like, haunted house, exorcist type stuff. And it's like, that's the underlying theme, or, like, the story beat. And then there's references here and there. 3 and 4 kind of just get to, like, all right, we're just going to reference everything that's going on at the time.
Yeah.
Which, there's parts that are fun. Like, you get Charlie Sheen in there. He gets into a fight with Michael Jackson at one point in the movie. And you're like, okay, that's fine. But like the Wayans brothers aren't back. Anna Faris and Regina Hall come back and do stuff, and there's just so many cameos in here. I don't know, like Anthony Anderson and Kevin Hart come in for a couple of these things. You get some members of the Wu-Tang Clan and like Fat Joe and Simon Cowell's in there for a scene doing shit. George Carlin's in the movie. Yeah, he's like he plays the architect from The Matrix when Anna Faris goes to a lighthouse. And they're trying to find like this Ring footage, the Ring video, and George Carlin's the architect. It's just like, I don't know, a lot of shit that they're trying to do. And that's my main issue with 3 and 4 is where it's just like too much spoofing instead of kind of like a little bit more of a focus.
You still gotta make it into something.
Right. And the best part of 3 and 4, hands down, are Leslie Nielsen. And they're learning about this kind of alien invasion that's happening. And Leslie Nielsen plays the president, which, fantastic. Maybe my favorite movie president of all time. There's a lot of good ones, but Leslie Nielsen's up there. And his staffer comes into the Oval Office, and Leslie Nielsen says, "Get me the president." And then his guy's like, "You are the president." He's like, "Yeah, you're right. Great. I already know about this information you're about to tell me." Classic Leslie Nielsen joke from Naked Gun. We talked about all those movies last year. Another joke is his staffer's like, they see some aliens, and he's like, "Sir, I just have a feeling that something's not right." And Leslie Nielsen says, "Yeah, it's like when you have a feeling that something's not right." Perfect. Those are the moments that really stick there for me from the third one. The fourth one, again, kind of the same stuff. David Zucker directed again. That's the one Charlie Sheen has the big boner. I did make a note of that one.
Good.
I'd seen that scene a lot in like elementary school. My buddy showed it to me, and I was like, "That's fucking hilarious." Here, Cat's just on his wiener, just like trying to do shit. Whatever. The opening of this movie does have the Shaq and Dr. Phil thing, where Shaq's trying to like hit a free throw and like save him from the saw room, and he just can't hit a shot because it's Shaq.
It's actually a good shot.
It was like right before he got on the Heat too, so like he had a very generic Heat jersey on, but didn't say anything. But this one again, like to the point of like spoofing a lot of different things. It spoofs The Grudge and War of the Worlds, and then it has a Village thing. and then Million Dollar Baby and Brokeback Mountain with a bunch of stuff. It's just like, I don't know. It tries to do a lot, and some of it's fun, some of it's stupid in a different way from being stupid funny, where it's just stupid like, that doesn't really work. James Earl Jones, or a guy that sounds like James Earl Jones, is narrating this movie. Again, probably the funniest part of this movie is that Leslie Nielsen is reading a book to a classroom, a la, George W. Bush, and they're reading a book about this duck, and he's really invested in what's going to happen to the duck. Like, there's an emergency going on, and he's like talking to his staff, where he's like, what happens to the duck? He's like, he's fine. He's like, I didn't hear the ending, though. And then at the end of the movie, Leslie Nielsen is in a bed with a duck, just post-sex. It's so dumb, but it's funny. So 3 and 4, okay. Didn't like them as much as 1 and 2. Scary Movie 5 is dog shit. I fucking hated this movie. Honestly, one of the worst, bigger budget movies that I think I've ever seen. Starts off with Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan and their sex tape, just making jokes about how they're both not good people, really. Doing shit, whatever. Mac Miller and Snoop Dogg are in this movie. Again, a guy who sounds like Morgan Freeman is narrating this movie. And they kind of do like Paranormal Activity, like Rise of the Planet of the Apes is kind of a thing here. Okay. Inception is a big part. They have a guy that looks like Leo in this movie. Evil Dead, like they do a Black Swan thing. Mama, it was kind of a thing that they spoofed on in this movie too. This one came out in 2013, I think it was. So it was just very unfunny and awfully made, whereas the other ones are not terribly made. They're just a lot of the choices weren't great, but there's just terrible editing and ADR and all that. And I don't know, this one didn't work for me. Ashley Tisdale's in it. She's just the main chick in the movie, so I was like, oh, interesting. From the Disney Channel days of growing up with Ashley Tisdale. One thing I do like is that there's bloopers and outtakes throughout the end credits of the movie. I always appreciate.
I think you just got to do that every fucking movie ever.
Yeah.
Schindler's List with outtakes in the end credits, please. Yeah, I don't like that joke. I'm sorry.
Interesting joke to chime in with. That's fucking crazy. Just zone of interest, fucking bloopers and outtakes. Oh, sorry guys, I just broke during the scene. My bad. Can we reset? Actually, can all the Jews reset, please? Yeah, that's good stuff. So, anyways, that was my scary movie watch for the week. My long-winded kind of rant on those. But Scary Movie / Scary Movie 6. First time that the Wayans brothers are back since Scary Movie 2. And Mason has not seen it yet, so I don't want to say a lot of specifics, really. But it does follow the kind of reboot sequel thing. And the base story here is of Scream 2022, Scream 5, where they follow, again, kind of back to the first two, where it has that kind of base storyline. Yeah. But then they sprinkle in a bunch of other references. There's, again, not to spoil stuff, but the opening sequence, a little bit of one battle after another.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
In a certain aspect.
Is it the Sean Penn?
No, it's more of just more of a character from the movie, or just kind of a reference to it, not necessarily a scene really. Okay. But they do, they riff on Halloween 2018. Obviously, they have stuff from Get Out and Weapons, Terrifier, Smile, Sinners, The Substance, Longlegs, all the kind of
stuff.
The stuff instead of the substance.
I like that one.
They riff on Megan a little bit. They have Hard Eyes. They make a joke about the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot from last year. All the stuff you would expect from them. And then they just have a lot of other modern commentary on COVID and ICE agents and transgender kids and the Drake and Kendrick beef.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's one joke in there about that. So there's a lot of modern stuff. They comment on the movie Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic, in a scene which the scene itself isn't that funny, but the tag of the joke, the actual punchline, is actually pretty funny. Because I remember a trailer and they showed a little bit of that. I'm like, it's not that funny, but the punchline's actually pretty good. I was going into this one the night before I just watched Scary Movie 5, so I was kind of pissed off. But so going into this, I was like, I don't know if I need another one. And for the first part of the movie, I kind of felt that way, but then I just kind of had fun with it, and I wasn't laughing as consistently as I had been through the first two movies, really, but I was just enjoying seeing all of the characters back and kind of that legacy sequel thing of seeing them all together again making jokes, and it works in this franchise. I think the ending to this movie is actually like pretty good, and like if you know the real life story, kind of like I mentioned of the, you know, what went on with the Wayans and between the other movies, it kind of works, and I was kind of surprised by it, by how good that was, and I wish they would have built that into other parts of the movie too. I think it could have been a home run, but I just had fun with it. It's a scary movie. It's Scary Movie 6, and it's riffing on modern horror things, and it's not really it's not cinema. It's not great stuff,
yeah.
But it's just, again, I think it benefits from having Scream 5 as the kind of baseline that you can follow, and then references branching out from there. So I had a good time enough watching this franchise, except for a couple of the later ones.
Yeah, I've only ever seen, I think, the first two for sure several times, and I think I've seen the majority of Scary Movie 3. I have not touched 4 or 5, and I am actually, like, somewhat interested in Scary Movie 6, just because I don't know how many more movies of this, like, franchise genre, spoof movies, as a genre. We don't really get a lot of them anyways. So I'd be interested to go check it out in the coming weeks, probably. And I've heard, like, kind of sharing and following in line with what you brought up of just, like, it's pretty good. Like, it's nice to have the same team back finally and stuff like that. So I'm at least interested in checking it out. And I like a lot of modern horror films, and I like the stuff that they could play on, and I'm interested to see what some of those jokes are. So I'm still interested in checking it out. And I do not envy the watch through of all of these movies in 1 week. I feel like that would be kind of...
It's done now.
Yeah, I feel like that's just got to be a little bit exhausting of just like, wow, I feel stupid as shit right now.
Between Masters of the Universe and this, this was a heavy watch week.
Low IQ week for me. Yeah. There was a movie that I've been trying to catch up on that came out this year that was in very limited theaters near us, at least in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. But that is God Is. It's directed by Alicia Harris. It is her directorial feature debut, as well as it is a screenplay from her. I believe the book was written by her, and the book was actually also based off of a play that she wrote. So it's very much a story that she does a grapple on. It is about two sisters that are embarking on this quest for revenge, confronting their father for some of the atrocities that he did to their mother. So it's a revenge story with these two sisters that are scarred from the impacts of their father and what he did to the mom. And I was really just kind of invested in the trailer that I saw of this a while back, and I heard good things about this. I've seen rumblings of it being like a good horror thriller, which it's not necessarily a horror film, but more of a thriller, a revenge tale. And it feels very grindhousey, which I really appreciated. It has a good cast. It's got Vivica A. Fox, Sterling K. Brown, Janelle Monáe, Kara Young, Mallory Johnson. I really like the cast here. Most of the names that I listed off, I'm aware of and I've met before. The two main leads of Kara Young and Mallory Johnson are two actresses that I don't think I've really been exposed to in the past, and I really enjoyed their work here. I really was surprised at how much I loved this movie. I was expecting to at least like it. I was interested enough in trying to catch up on this movie, so I knew, I'm like, all right, I'm at least invested in this movie. But this film at times gets really mean, and like the characters are doing horrible things, and it's something that you kind of just have to be on board with, and I really appreciated that. It feels like in the way that this film is edited that this would be like a Quentin Tarantino presents. Like, it would have that kind of marketing behind it. And it is a little bit of like that grindhouse, like that feel, that both in the edit and just in what this film is about. It is a pretty straightforward revenge tale, but it is a revenge for something very truly atrocious that was done, and it's been taken out by these two girls that have not seen their father since they were kids. So I really love the dynamic between the two leads here. One of the sisters, because they're twins, one of the sisters is really gung-ho on, yes, we need to go kill our dad. We need to find him. Our mother, who is on her deathbed, who is severely burned from this horrible act that our dad did to her, she's horribly burned, and she's asking us to go kill our dad. Yes, we'll go do it. And then the other sister, the one that is honestly more affected by it, she has facial scarring and is looked at as being ugly just because of those scars. and she has basically more skin in the game, kind of. And she's like, I think that this is fucked. Like, this is a horrible thing. I don't know if I can go along with this. And just their kind of duality and them as sisters disagreeing but still being able to work through something, I thought was really interesting. They also do a really cool thing with them being twins and the fact that they will... Which, like, you can do this with twins or just siblings. It probably works better with them, these characters being twins, of them communicating without talking. There are times when they'll just look at each other and text will appear on a screen, and they'll just have, like, an argument back and forth of, like, you're a fucking idiot. We need to go over here. Where? Over there. And then they'll both go, and I'm like, I like this aspect to it, too. So, this film does get really dark. It's somewhat mean-spirited at times of just what these characters are willing to do and the lengths that they're willing to go. A lot of the deaths are done by a rock in a long white tube sock, and it just gets pretty gnarly at times.
The butter sock from iCarly.
Weird reference. I thought you were going to say, like, Lieutenant Pyle, like Full Metal Jacket, like bar of soap in a sock. And
I was just thinking butter sock.
Butter sock. Great.
Thinking about Gibby.
Low IQ week for Corey. But Is God Is was a great movie. It's easily in my top 10, I'd say, for 2026. I haven't really sat down and thought too much about where it would sit within the films from this past week, or this past year, I should say. But I really did enjoy it. I think that this is a really sharply directed film, well edited, well written. I love the characters, and it is just a really good revenge story. Sterling K. Brown is terrifying in this movie, and I really like kind of his energy he brings on screen. He is very methodical and very selective with what he says, and his demeanor is very, almost too perfectly chosen and perpetrated to where you're like, oh, did he do this horrible thing? Is the story getting skewed by the mom? Was there more there to, this flashback and what actually went down? Or is he a monster? And I like just kind of that unraveling a little bit and getting some of the doubt, but also some of the confirmation on certain things. So go check it out if it's showing near you. I ended up not being able to find it in a theater too close to me, so I saw it was for rent VOD on Amazon Prime, so I paid $15 for it. And I'm like, there's my ticket admission fee. Why not? I'll watch it at home. So I would have loved to see this in the theaters. I would recommend it if it is showing near you. Go check it out in the theaters. It is a great movie. Really loved it. I'm worried that this might kind of go under the radar for a lot of people. It's not it's not showing in a lot of places. It's a little bit more art house-y, and I think there's a lot of really great stuff in this movie. I loved it. And then Corey talked about it last week, Spider Noir. Obviously, you're more the TV guy, and you ran through that entire show. I am halfway through, I think, the second episode. I really like it. I'm bad with TV. But so far, I am so one into that world. I have been watching it in black and white. I'll probably continue on. I have seen different people post viewing guides as to, what episodes work really well with color, so I might kind of experiment with that a little bit. I fucking love Brendan Gleeson. Put him in everything. And I really love, is it Lamorne Morris?
Yeah,
Winston. God, Winston? He's the fucking best.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Anytime he pops up in anything, love him to death. So I really like the world that they're building. And I like, just you know me, the quick...
Transatlantic.
The transatlantic, 30s noir speak. And just the way Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly just throws it back at people, even just in mundane conversation of just back and forth. And he's like, well, there's a quip early on of if I had a nickel, or hey, if you were greedy, you'd have a lot of money. He's like, that's why I'm not. Or you see me wearing a lot of flashy clothes and just quick back and forth. So I'm I'm really in on this and I love this. So I'm excited to just continue watching through this show. It'll probably take me a week and a half to actually finish it, but I'm excited to get to that point. And I like also the which granted this could be in the comics. I'm not well versed in Spider Noir. I like the reimaginings of some of the more classic Spider-Man characters and villains and just kind of how they're working into the 1930s aspect. Really dig it. So I'm a big fan of the show so far, and I'm excited to continue to watch through it.
Coming out this week, Big week. For me, Steven Spielberg is my favorite director of all time. Before I even knew that movies was something that I wanted to be a big part of my life, Steven Spielberg is a reason that it was underlined in my life of watching Jurassic Park, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Close Encounters, everything that he did, and just being like, movies are cool. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, Steven Spielberg fucked hard with movies.
Yeah, he made all of the good ones.
He made E.T., just to mention all of those. He just, I think, is one of the most consistent directors. I know people have different opinions on that, in recent years, whether they think he's been good. I think he still is making a lot of really cool, interesting movies. And with Disclosure Day coming out this week, it's back to being an original movie from him that's not, even like Fableman's is like technically original, but it's kind of based on his life a little bit.
Semi-autobiographical.
Yeah, and we had like, Lincoln and Bridge of Spies, 2 great movies, but based on history. Ready Player One based on a book. So back to kind of that Close Encounters and Firelight, if you're a deep cut Spielberg fan of the sci-fi alien genre. And it stars Emily Blunt. She plays a meteorologist. Josh O'Connor. He plays kind of a whistleblower who's trying to expose this alien presence that's been on Earth for a while. And I don't know, the marketing's worked really well for me. I love the sound of like the clicking from the trailers. That's worked really well. Just a lot of weird visuals from the trailers that I really want to find out what the fuck that is, whether it works for me or not. I'm curious to find that out. It's just filled out with a great cast. Colin Firth, Coleman Domingo, Wyatt Russell in there. I'm so excited for this movie. I'm just stoked that we have a Steven Spielberg movie in the summer. And it's his and John Williams' 30th collaboration. That's fucking crazy. 30 movies.
Honestly, likely going to be one of John Williams, if not the last John Williams score we'll probably get. And the stuff that they've shared in the trailers of the score, I'm like, oh god, this is going to be good. Mm-hmm. But this is like a Super Bowl event film of the summer for us. I'm excited to see it. Kind of going off of what you said of like giving me something original from Spielberg again, which. The trailers, the more I've seen of them, the less excited, just because I'm getting a little worried. I'm trying to keep my expectations kind of in check as well. But Close Encounters of the Third Kind is honestly top 3 Spielberg films for me. I love that movie. And then the kind of hints and nods of, not that this is going to be a follow-up or a send-up of that, but just like Spielberg back in that lane, I'm really excited to see. I like the cast. I'm really just excited to see... Already what's shown in the trailers is what seems to be a very ambitious movie and really just out there. I'm sold on it. What to you is the most, like, when you think of Spielberg, you think this movie. What is the most Spielberg synonymous movie for you?
I'd say Jurassic Park.
Okay.
It's either that or Jaws. Like, both of those are in my top 10 movies of all time. Jurassic Park was my favorite movie of all time for a very long time. But I just remember watching that for the first time. And like I said before, like diving into movies deep when I was like 15, 16 years old. Just being like, fuck, this movie's great.
Awesome.
And like, I don't realize what makes it great at this point in my life, but I realize that it's great.
Just nonstop rewatchability and just like, I can't take my eyes off of it.
Yeah.
For me, it'd probably be Indiana Jones. It's not that it's not a serious answer, but it is the way I was exposed to Steven Spielberg in my house growing up was through Austin Powers Goldmember. When he pops up and he's making the Austin Powers movie where Tom Cruise is playing Austin Powers. Those are also great spoof movies. I didn't mention that when we talk about the scary movies. Austin Powers is great, but he pops up as he has like a little cameo talking to Mike Myers of like, what do you think here? Like, that looks great, right? And it's Spielberg, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the guy that's responsible for like everyone's childhood in the 80s. Like, that's crazy. And for me, it's probably Indiana Jones that I'm just like, that's him. That is him just firing on all cylinders. But yeah, Spielberg, no matter what era of Spielberg, it is a generational run that he's on. For any other director, it'd be like, oh, that is like an argument for Hall of Fame best director of all time. It's just all coming from the same guy. So when you say he's your favorite director, I can't scoff at that. When anyone says he's their favorite director, I can't scoff at that. He's the GOAT. Even though he's not my favorite, he is the greatest.
Yeah, and I'm really excited this week to watch through some movies of his that I haven't seen.
Amistad's a good one.
I mentioned Amistad. Amistad 2 is not a thing, so...
Can't venture that deep.
Can't watch that. I've actually never seen Hook. I'm really excited to watch Hook.
Okay, that's maybe my biggest argument as to why I'm like, Steven Spielberg isn't as good as everyone says he is. He is as good as everyone says he is, but like, I don't like Hook. I think it's too schmaltzy. And that critique that Spielberg gets of like sometimes being too cheesy and schmaltzy, I will contribute to that every once in a while, but like... sometimes people just really hammer that home too much. Hook, I do not like. So actually, I want you to watch that because I think that might be a good conversation.
That's a good one. I think I'm going to try and watch Hook, Amistad, and maybe Empire of the Sun. I've never seen that one. So I think those 3 for sure, and then maybe I'll try and fit in some other ones. There's not a lot that I haven't seen, but just a couple of those. So it's been great just seeing him in like the media interviews too, just talking about like breaking down his movies. And, like, breaking down, like, the opening of Raiders, and then talking about how he's like, yeah, I love Obsession, and I love this new era of filmmaking. Yeah. I'm like, you are the fucking greatest.
Did you see, I think it was Emily Blunt O'Connor and maybe Domingo all showed up on set wearing Spielberg movie shirts. One was wearing Jurassic Park,
Oh,
Jaws.
really?
One was wearing.
That's cool.
Where was the last one? But it was just they all like showed up one day, and he's just like, "Let me get a photo of it." Just like a grandpa, he's like, "I need to get a photo of this. This is great." And I was just like, "God damn it, you're so infinitely likable."
He's the Hollywood grandpa.
Yeah.
Like, he's fucking awesome. So, yeah, we'll have a lot of deep thoughts on Disclosure Day next week. A couple other things coming out this week. One that I've heard pretty good things about is called The Furious, which is about a father that's fighting to save his daughter from kidnappers. I've heard it's a really great martial arts movie.
Yeah.
I heard that it's kind of back to the Raid and Raid 2 type action. Very excited to maybe check that out in theaters. If not, I'll definitely want to watch that one for sure. The other one is Stop That Train! There's exclamation points after every word. I don't know much about this movie. I know one of my coworkers is very excited for this one, so that's kind of the reason that I heard about this initially. It's on this train called the Glamazonian Express, and
Tough.
it's during a storm where these stewardesses are working with the first class crew and the president to prevent a disaster in LA. It doesn't seem like a movie that is necessarily tailored to me. Maybe not you. I guess like
I know nothing of this.
it seems like more drag type.
I might check that one.
Yeah, I
Have you
don't
ever
know.
gone to a drag brunch, dude? They're kind of fucking fun.
I have not. I got suckered into going to a drag show at a bar in Duluth that I didn't know was happening. My friends were like, "Hey, we're at this bar, and you should just come meet us there." I was like, "All right, cool." And I went and there was a cover fee, and I was like, "This is a random weeknight that
to
it's
have a cover fee, yeah.
There was a drag show, and it's just not really my thing.
Is this RuPaul? No.
RuPaul's in it.
She
yeah.
is? Okay.
Yeah, he, she, I don't know.
Paul Shear's in this? I love Paul Shear. Joel McHale's in this?
So if it's your thing, then that's an option for you this week. But not Disclosure Day is the thing that I'm just like very excited for this week. So
I'm really excited about Furious. I might need to make that. Like,
Yeah.
for sure, check that one off this week. Stop That Train. I'm just like, I'm more interested. And I don't love every movie that Adam Shankman directed, but Hairspray and Rock of Ages, Hairspray is not even a guilty pleasure. I think that movie's awesome. Rock of Ages is a little bit of a guilty pleasure with Tom Cruise in that. So I think he has an interesting, the Pacifiers in there, so I don't know. It's an interesting kind of track record from this director, but all right, Paul Scheer, I like you, so maybe I'll go check this out. I don't know.
I watched Cheaper by the Dozen 2, the first two movies a lot, but he directed the second one. I watched those movies a lot growing up as a kid.
Is the second one's Eugene Levy in that one?
I think so, yeah.
And they go to like the summer camp. Taylor Lautner's in that one. Yeah, that's a fun
Yeah,
one.
that's fun.
But moving into a physical media roundup, I've brought this up a number of weeks in a row where I bought a custom steelbook of One Battle After Another. I don't know whether there's a glare and if you're going to be able to see this, but it did come in probably, like I said, weeks ago. I just keep forgetting to bring it. I love this. I haven't added the Blu-ray copy that I have to this steelbook yet, just because all my stuff, all my movies are still packed away. Still currently unpacking from my move. And then I didn't watch any of the spoofs. I didn't watch any scary movie stuff this week, but with kind of the more recent Naked Gun and me loving that original Naked Gun, I like Airplane, but I know that the same team then went on to make Top Secret. I've never seen this movie. I've heard a lot of great things about this movie. I love Val Kilmer, so I wanted to watch a new spoof movie because I remember the first time I watched the original Naked Gun, like a year and a half ago, right before in the lead up to that new one coming out. I remember just watching them and being like, "Holy fuck, this movie's awesome, and so funny." So I'm hoping that I can get somewhat of a similar result from watching Top Secret, probably in this upcoming week.
Coming out this week, we have a newer release, which is called Lorne, which is a documentary-style thing on Lorne Michaels, who is the creator of SNL. I've heard it's really good. The history of SNL is really interesting to me, even though I don't watch it a lot now. I used to watch it kind of when I was in my teenage years a little bit more. But just like, the history with like Eddie Murphy and Chris Farley and the Will Ferrell and the origins of it is really interesting. Saturday Night, the movie is really good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just something that's really cool to me. Some older movies coming out on 4K. Scream 4 kind of completes out the Scream movies being released on 4K now, so you can have all those in your collection if you
I
want.
might need to grab that.
Yeah, Scream 4 is great.
That's an underrated one.
That's a top-tier Scream movie for me. The Patriot on 4K, a Mel Gibson movie that I love. I grew up watching that all the time. The Burbs and Notting Hill also coming out on 4K.
I've never seen The Burbs.
I haven't either.
And I've always wanted to. And I think it was last October I was thinking about trying to buy a copy of it, and then I heard that this 4K was eventually kind of in the works. So I'm happy I kind of waited because I might buy that eventually too.
I've heard the show with Keke Palmer that's out is really good, actually.
I mean, it's Keke Palmer. Anything Keke Palmer's in is probably going to be pretty good. Moving into movie news, we did have a decent amount of trailers that came out this past week. We had Onslaught, which almost looks like it's in the same universe as the Dan Stevens The Guest movie, which I love that movie from Adam Wingard. I don't know if that's actually, I think that's just rumblings and speculation, but it feels like it very much could be in that same universe. We also got How to Rob a Bank coming from, is it David Leitch?
Mm-hmm.
Leitch. We got a trailer for End of Oak Street. We got Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. And then we also got a trailer for Coyote vs. Acme, which has been the once shelved, and now it's coming back. It's going out in the theaters, and we got a trailer for that. Corey, of any of these trailers, did any of them really spark any interest for you?
I'm excited for the End of Oak Street.
Yeah.
I like David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows. And J.J. Abrams is producing it, and then I like J.J. Abrams more than I feel like most
the average person,
people. Yeah. So it looks really cool. How to Rob a Bank, I'm curious about. I like David Leitch's movies. I love Bullet Train. I like Deadpool 2 enough. The Fall Guy's fun. So
I love the Fall Guy.
I'm curious about those two.
Yeah, I like How to Rob a Bank. I like the cast. I like the team behind it. But I don't know. I don't like the idea of influencers or people that are hey, watch me rob this bank in real time. That just kind of takes me out of movies nowadays, when I'm just that is a thing that just so heavily frustrates me in today's society. I don't need to see it in a movie. It's just going to piss me off there too. But I like the cast. I like the director. Maybe I'll check that out. I'm all on board for Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man, if he can kind of keep in line with what he did with the movie Thanksgiving, which I really enjoyed from him. So I'm up for that. The Coyote vs. Acme, I honestly didn't even watch the trailer, but it is a movie I am just excited about, just based on, it was shelved, and now they're going to put it out in theaters. So if those who wanted to see it before it got shelved, you better go support it. And the End of Oak Street is just looking to be a really interesting watch coming up soon here, so I'm excited about that as well. Hoping Onslaught as well is part of The Guest universe, just because I love that movie. I think this might be a slightly lesser news, not necessarily a lesser news story, but what would be the big news story of this past week for me? We just talked about Steven Spielberg almost basically being the grandfather of current Hollywood right now. He's everyone's grandpa, especially in the filmmaking world. We also lost, I guess, our other grandfather, Clint Eastwood. Not that he passed.
Yeah, we didn't lose him.
But he did announce, and kind of it came out through his son, that he did retire from filmmaking at the young, ripe age of 96.
Maybe.
Which is, if that's true, which honestly I don't blame him. You've been making movies for, 60, 70 years. You can hang it up. That's fine. Holy shit, what a amazing legendary career. There are a few people I think you could argue are more legendary than Clint Eastwood that are still alive and working today. It makes me want to go back and watch some of his films that I've missed out on, some of his classic westerns that I haven't seen. One of the biggest ones that is a movie that I haven't seen that is maybe a hole in my back catalog of films is The Outlaw Josie Wales. I've never watched.
That's a good one.
So I might go back and check that. Which did he direct? He might have directed that one.
Yep.
I need to check that out, as well as just a smattering of other movies that he's made. But for someone to be so long in the industry and also getting late into his career, he was still turning out movies that are better than average to, if not really great. Like The Juror Number 2, I really liked. American Sniper is still a pretty good movie, even if you can get past that one scene where there's definitely a fake baby doll in Bradley Cooper's hands and he's just wiggling the foot for it. But I think Eastwood, and it's not a hard statement to make, he is a legend of the industry. And if I had to say what my favorite piece of work ever put to screen, whether it was a directorial effort or him acting, it's Unforgiven. Which, if you were going to ask me that 3 years ago, I would never have said that, because I remember the first time I watched that movie, I didn't like it, and now I really love it. It's one of my favorite westerns. I'd say Unforgiven is maybe one of the best films that he's ever done, but also that we've had in the western genre. And then I'd couple that with Dirty Harry. I love Dirty Harry so much, and those are, aside from The Man with No Name, those are the films that I think about when I think of Clint Eastwood. So it's not a sad day, because it's dude, you've earned it. You can retire and we could be fine with it. You're 96. I doubt you're going to make another movie, but I also wouldn't completely shut the door, just knowing that you've worked until the age of 96 already. You could come back. What are some big Clint Eastwood films for you?
Yeah, Man with No Name trilogy for me is when I think Clint Eastwood, it's Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and all those. That's a fucking awesome trilogy. Directing wise, you mentioned a lot of good ones. I love $1 Million Baby. I think that movie's great. I love American Sniper.
Gran Torino.
Richard Jewell is a really underrated movie. I think that's really solid. But he said he's going to retire like so many times, like after Richard Jewell, then after Cry Macho, then after Jury Number 2. And I'm like, maybe this time.
If Mel Brooks could make Spaceballs 2, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Clint Eastwood at the young age of 98 wanted to get back behind the camera and make another movie. Mm-hmm. Or at least like guest appear or not guest appear, but cameo or be in a film or act or whatever.
But yeah, definitely a legend. Fucking awesome. I love Clint Eastwood. Not everything he does works for me. I don't love Unforgiven as much.
Yeah.
I know we both were in tandem on it for a while, and then you rewatched it and really liked it. Maybe I'll rewatch it. But yeah, I can't deny the impact that he's had on Hollywood. If this actually is him retiring from making movies.
Yeah, you earned it, dude. You've been doing it for long enough. We also got a update in regards to the rumored and talked about Escape from New York remake, which is going to be obviously a remake of John Carpenter's 1981 action classic with Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken. Snake Plissken. Mm-hmm. I really like that movie. I've never needed a remake, but apparently Zack Snyder wants to direct a remake of that film, and he is being set to be the director bringing that one to life, which, again, I don't necessarily need that. I don't mind that choice. I think that's a good way to save him from ever touching the Rebel Moon shit again.
Yeah.
Maybe take him off that course. But I also, like, my favorite thing Zack Snyder's done recently is Army of the Dead. I would maybe just rather him do just his own original fare outside of Rebel Moon. But you know what? If you're gonna make a remake of Escape from New York, Zack Snyder did a really good remake for Dawn of the Dead, and he nailed it. It's up there for me of like which one I prefer. So you know what? I think that's a decent enough director. I don't need this remake at all, but that's a fine choice, I think. And then the biggest maybe piece of news, if you're a DC fan or a comic book fan, is the first look and glimpse that we got at Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor in the battlesuit armor for kind of some behind-the-scenes making of images that we got from the set of Man of Tomorrow that came out this past week, and it is very much that very comic book accurate, big metallic, heavy-duty green kryptonite-infused armor that was used in that announcement photo of Superman Man of Tomorrow that James Gunn put out. So to finally see that suit in action, and there's been clips of him actually moving in it, so it's like, okay, they have like an actual suit, whether it's going to be CGI, which they'll probably have to CGI over top of it for a lot of like action sequences, but getting to see that in live action is something really crazy. Also, we've gotten little notes and details shown of the Superman suit and how that may have been changed or altered a little bit in the time leading up to this new film from the previous Superman movie. So all of those promo images that have kind of leaked out through the trades, I'm really excited by. I am worried that we might get more and more, and I'm just like, just let this movie get made. Sometimes I like seeing stuff like this because it gets exciting, but also I'm like, I don't want to know too much before I get into it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool to see Lex Luthor's battlesuit. Mm-hmm. And then that will do it for today's episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Thanks for joining us for another episode. Be sure to follow us on any sort of platform that you find us on. Maybe hype up The Last Jedi if you find that Star Wars ranking, because it's mostly people just being like, how dare you? And I'm like, it's subjective. I'm sorry. Why did you hate Revenge of the Sith? Actually, we both love Revenge of the Sith. It's just not that high up. I'm just going to get pissed about it. We need to be a real good solid hour of us talking Star Wars getting pissed about it. But from Corey and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap, which is usually your line, but I just skipped to it entirely. So sorry about that.
Yeah, fuck it, we will. Thanks again to BetterHelp for being a sponsor today.
BetterHelp.